How does the human animal bond influence our understanding of communication and collaboration in the realm of dog training? And what lessons can we learn from this unique relationship dynamic? Another question I want you to think about throughout this episode is, what role does discipline and also, let's say, positive reinforcement here, a little bit of both, play in fostering a strong bond between dogs and their guardians? And how can we leverage these different aspects of animal training in our training methods? So, as we embark on today's episode, let's kind of reflect on these questions as we sit down and chat with our guest today, who is Jack Bowker.
Hey,
I'm so excited to introduce you, Jack. I feel like you're the man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce you anyway. And at first, I should have already asked you this. We were chatting so much. Did I pronounce your awesome, badass name correctly?
that's funny. So some say Bowker and some say Boker, but Boker it is, but I'll take anything.
I'm going to call you Jack Bowker. See, I
There
knew
you
it.
go.
I knew it when I said out loud. I was like, that could go either way. Okay. So, rewind the tapes. It is with great pleasure that we welcome Jack Bowker, the Dean of RUFF University, to our
Ding, ding, ding.
podcast today. There we go. That feels better.
Thank you.
Of
Thank you so
course.
much. I'm so happy to be on. I'm grateful. It's a great opportunity and I'm honored to be here. So thanks for having me.
You're welcome, Jack. And I'm going to give our audience a little bit of a background about you before I let you do most of the talking. So, with a distinguished background in law enforcement and military service, Jack brings a wealth of experience and expertise to the world of dog training and behavior consultation. His commitment to shaping positive and effective dog training practices at RUFF University. I feel like every time I say that, I got to say RUFF. At RUFF University reflects his dedication to fostering trust and collaboration between both dogs and their guardians. So, through his unique blend of discipline, leadership, resilience, lots of love as well, which Jack has specifically asked me to highlight. Jack's approach to dog training sets him apart in the industry. So we're really excited to kind of delve into your inspiring journey, Jack, and explore how your passion for the human animal bond influences your work at RUFF University. How's that?
Hey,
Anything you want
yeah,
to
no,
add to
that
that
was
intro?
I don't even know if I can come in with anything here. I mean, that was outstanding. So thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. And obviously, as you got to see, and hello everyone, thanks for chiming in. Um, but as you got to see, I tend to kind of go off when we're talking about dog training and just that human animal bond and incorporating positive reinforcement to create positive association. So I do go left and right field sometimes. I try to stay within those limits, but for me, background wise, obviously it's very unusual to see someone law enforcement background and then also military background, you're, if you will, stereotypical version of me doesn't usually come off with these types of things, and the reason for that is, well, I guess we're not here to explain that. What we're going to explain is the fact that I, through all of these years of interviews and just training and speaking with hundreds and hundreds of from witnesses to suspects to victims, I found a passion in not only helping people and even animals throughout that time, but for me, it was more so about the learning having the ability to connect better with others, because that's where I found you're going to do the greatest as not only in business but also as a human being, right? So just understanding, having that compassion, that ability to be empathetic and just understanding altogether. So that comes with communication. So back to the interviews and stuff, what I wanted to do was expand my horizons and take that into the behavior analytical field. So specifically applied behavior analysis. And I'm like, hey, this can truly help me help others. And so
Mm.
that's what I ended up doing. So I went with applied behavior analysis, ABA, and that's where I learned a lot of things. obviously between our behavior, animal behavior, so on and so forth. But, absolutely, my background has shaped everything that I do, but in a lot of different ways than most people would think. So I'm definitely willing to talk about that and expand a
Yeah.
little bit more on that. But I don't want to take
Let's
the mic the whole time.
No, that's okay. That's okay. No, this is so great. And I want, honestly, I tell all of our guests this, like, talk away. It is my job to steer the conversation. It is your job to just go
To
off.
fill it in.
To fill it in, yeah. And I'm super excited. It's funny that you talk about this intersection between human and animal behavior, because I feel like so often the more that, so I should give our audience some context here. Both Jack and I volunteer at for the same local animal shelter, the Animal Welfare Association of New Jersey. And I should say Christian Snyder, our bestie, is here. He has commented.
Of
He is
course.
tuning in live, like the amazing supporter he is. So it's funny, once you start working with animals, even as what I do is I do a lot of cat socializing. You start working with animals and you start working with people, and you start realizing that a lot of the issues that animals have, sure, there's a lot of underlying trauma. There's a lot of baggage, if you will, that animals come to, that animals have when they arrive at into our lives. But the human element, a lot of people, cats, for example, people say things like, my cat's tearing up the carpet. And you're like, have you given them a scratch pad? And they're like, well, what is that? Like there's just, it's so interesting to learn about this human element of animal behavior, misbehavior, perceived misbehavior. So look at me. Okay,
Yeah.
now I'm going off on a tangent. Let me dial it in, Jack. Let's talk about Jack before I start talking about cats. So Jack, can you maybe share with us a bit more about the mission and vision of RUFF University, of which you are the dean? How does RUFF University aim to shape positive and effective dog training and education for both dogs and their guardians?
Yeah. So, and thank you for that. So our mission and vision is really us just having this intense, satisfaction to be able to not only come to see someone and help them with their beloved dog, right? But also to be able to train, and educate the dog parent, because as you started, to indicate, that is a big part of this. And so many people unfortunately leave that part out. That is where that behavior analytical piece comes in, not only to humans, but to animals, right? But as a dog trainer, it is just crucial for you to be able to understand everyone's behavior, dog parents' behavior, because your behavior directly impacts your dog's behavior. And sometimes the other way around. So it's important to understand that. But our biggest thing is, hey, listen, we love you, we love your dogs, we want to see it. But for us, it's about educating you. So our tagline is, and many have, I'm sure, seen it, but it's where training meets education, because it's not about coming to you and saying, hey, let's ring up a bill and hang out for an hour and train your dog and feed them a bunch of cool foods. That's not what it's about. And that's what I'm trying to really change in society, or at least in the United States for now, or at least in the tri-state area, right? So it's more than that. It is the human animal bond. How do you do that, right? So for us, it's like, hey, this is where training meets education. It's not just training. Training meets education. That means
Mm.
your behavior, your dog's behavior, right? So I always say to everyone, right, to alumni, and if any of them are watching now or will listen to this later, they're going to laugh, because I always say, there, in order to have great training, there are two things required, right? That's one is motivation, right? And the other is, more importantly, and for our purposes, trust, bond. There is no great training without trust, and there is no great training without motivation. So back to behavior, how do you figure out motivation? What is the function of this behavior, right? You have to understand what it is that they want or do not want. Preferred items, reinforcing items, whether it be high value food, toys, whatever it may be. And then again, more importantly, is that trust or bond. If you don't have it, good luck, because you're not your training sessions are not going to be cool at all. So, and this brings you right to you guys, to the Street Dog Coalition, right? what you do is just absolutely incredible. And props to AWA and Christian. I know you're on. Um, Listen, like, think about it this way in terms of homelessness and their dogs. Okay. What I just gave you was motivation and trust. And what is it that they absolutely have over everybody that's not homeless? They have a bond, they have trust. Why do you think those connections are so important for them?
Oh,
That's it. I mean,
yes.
hello, it's very simple. And that's why you can meet people that are suffering from, homelessness and their dogs. And you're like, your dog is amazing. Well,
Yeah.
that's because it's an amazing human that is able to work and train with their dog and protect their dog because they have the bond, they have the trust. So many people miss that. And just full circle back to you and the Street Dog Coalition, that's where it's at. And if you know that and take that and run with it, guess what? Great training sessions. Then we can start talking about, hey, how do I do these things with my dog? Well, there's two pieces to training and well, to training with a dog. Very simple. I'll give it to you and I'll give the mic back to you. But there's management of the environment, which includes your own behavior. It also includes equipment and things like that, right? So why is my dog doing this? Why is my dog doing that? Well, have you tried doing this? Oh, no, I didn't think about that. Yeah, so management of the environment is very important. Then you implement a training plan with the management and make it happen. Positive reinforcement techniques, creating positive associations. If we as dog parents, I swear I'll give it right back to you. If we
No,
as dog
I'm
parents,
soaking this up. Please. Boy, I got
if
my
we
notebook out.
as dog parents, right? And this is one of the quotes you'll find on the RUFF University website. We have a tendency to focus on all of the undesired behaviors of our dogs. What does that do? It creates a crappy just setting for you, for the family, for the dog. It's all negative association. We focus on those unwanted behaviors. No, that's not. We need to focus on the desirable behaviors. We need to mark and reward and positively reinforce the behaviors we want to see. And it's not that dog parents and people in general do not want the best training in life for their dogs. It's just because they are not educated about behavior. It's very simple.
Mm.
And I want to educate everyone because I think that's important. And we try to keep things to a point where it's not only affordable, but accessible, you know, from free lessons once in a while to, discounts for military law enforcement. So, yeah, I'm on my soapbox. It's all you, Daria.
I love it. What a soapbox. No, and that's awesome. And I'm really like totally what you're saying is really resonating with me because I think I want to ask you more about your background in just a moment. I just want to add that it is when we are feeling frustration with our pet, first of all, yes, to people who are experiencing homelessness, having a trust, having a bond with their
Yeah,
animals, even more so than people who have homes and often leave their animals at home alone for most of the day. That's a
yeah,
different podcast episode. I just want to just snaps around for you. Like you just get it. And I
yeah.
think it's so interesting to hear you say that oftentimes you find that people focus on the negative behavior because I really feel like in my experience, working with animals and just working with people, right? Like it once you start focusing on the negative, you start getting really frustrated. And then your animal or whoever you're talking to, even if it's a person, picks
Sure.
up on that frustration, picks up on that energy, mirrors it back to you, or tries to, outdo your frustration. And
Yeah.
it's just this like
Snowball
cyclone,
effect.
snowball. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm sure you experienced a lot of that, in your professional life and as in
absolutely.
law enforcement and in military service. So maybe you can tell us a bit about how um, this background that you have in law enforcement and military service, which we're all very grateful for you for,
Thank
how,
you.
yeah, absolutely. How has your experience influenced your approach to dog training and behavior consultation? And how do you incorporate discipline and leadership and resilience? And also, I'm going to keep layering this in because you were talking about it before we hopped on here live. How do you incorporate discipline, leadership, resilience, but also softness and vulnerability and
Right.
positivity? How do you kind of incorporate both sides of that, both sides of the coin into your work at RUFF University?
Sure. Yeah. So, we were talking about it pre-podcast right before we went on. So, I'll try to keep it more direct, but, we talk about discipline. We talk about leadership. I know you mentioned that on the topic or under the topic of this podcast. So it's kind of funny and it's neat that we got here. So discipline, resiliency, and leadership. So I just did a video on, hey, there's some red flags to look for as dog parents, to maybe reconsider if you hear someone saying, oh, be a leader, be the alpha, be dominant, that's nonsense. That is so outdated. It's from the 30s and 40s, the wolf pack theory. That's what that is. So I won't go too far off on that, but behavioral science, scientific research has just shown over and over again that that is not how it works. Sure, dogs have a social hierarchical system within, each other and depending on their environment. Hey, like I know this better than you, so I'll take it from here kind of thing. But yeah, so leadership, in terms of being a leader, let's look at it this way. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in different roles, and being a good leader also means you need to be a good follower. And that includes us as dog parents, right? So understanding the needs of your dog, right? Understanding that they're trying to communicate something. This is all being, you want to be a leader, that's what being a leader is. But also being a leader can be a parent, of a child. We're all leaders in our lives, in different parts of our lives. And but it's important to know that when you talk about leadership and stuff in terms of dog training, that's, hey, you take the responsibility, and then we'll tie this right in. You have the discipline to train your dog in a way that's safe and healthy and creates a positive environment, or a healthy environment, positive associations. You're winning. That's good leadership right there. So that's what I'll give you in terms of leadership. Anything outside of that, I will say, no, don't talk to those people, because that means that they want to utilize possibly aversives. And you don't want to do that. You don't need
Yeah.
it, right? Um, so in terms of resiliency, again, law enforcement, military, it all comes back full circle again to the connection, the ability to connect with people, and why I went after applied behavior analysis, to understand organisms in general, humans, animals, right? Why do we do the things that we do? And it's not of the mind. This is not psychology, although it falls under that umbrella. Yes, it does. But we live in a mentalistic society where we explain things. He's nuts, she's nuts, they're nuts, the dog's crazy. Love it, cool, funny, but hey, do me a favor and define those behaviors. Tell me what they are, what they look like. Because then, as a behaviorist, an educated behaviorist, I can look at those actual measurable, observable behaviors and figure out the cause or the function of the behavior and address it. So, but behavior analysis, understanding people, and in my time, both military and law enforcement, I saw a lot of service dogs and stuff like that. So I won't go too far off on that side, but I will say that a lot of that training, unfortunately, comes from the wild, wild west. A lot of it's still out there today. And I want it to be able to not only create an organization that is a safe place for dogs and dog parents, to teach them, to learn, to educate, but to help them understand that you do not need those types of tools and equipment and relationships with your dog. When
Mm.
you have that bond, back to the trust and the bond, anything is possible. Now it's just a matter of you knowing when and why, right? And if you have that figured out, you can have your dog will do backflips for you,
I love
especially if they're
that.
small enough. So just I just really want to emphasize this. Like, discipline is for dog parents. Discipline is for the dog trainer. It's not for the dog. So
Oh,
this is
this is a
important,
mic drop
right?
moment right here.
Yeah. Discipline has nothing to do with your dog, right? So I even kind of got away from obedience wording because I just don't like it anymore. Like, I don't want my dog to be obedient. I want my dog to be well mannered, just like my child is well mannered, right? So for me, it's you kind of dance around a lot of these words, but in the in the big picture and at the end of the day, it's all about connecting all of us together and doing it in a way that's going to promote just awesomeness in the future, right?
Mm.
I hate that, I despise seeing when there's crappy relationships in dog homes and dog parent and dog. And it's so negative, right? We go back to that the dog ends up going to a shelter rescue, abandoned, whatever. This is what we don't want. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So this is why it's important to get this message out. Hey, this is, management training, but motivation, figure it out, and trust, build that bond. I'm telling you, it's going to work. Stop getting all upset, getting home screaming and yelling, because it hasn't fixed anything before, because they're still doing it. So that tells you something. It's not
Yeah,
working. So we need to figure out what will work.
I
So
totally agree. I
again,
totally agree.
off, off, off out there with this stuff, but like, I am passionate about it. And that's why Ruff University does exist, because I want to share this message with everyone. I want it to go across the states. I want people to understand that there are better options than just putting, and, I'm not criticizing any person for having, some of these pieces of equipment, say prong collar. Recently, yesterday, I just removed a prong collar from uh, a dog. She's
Mm.
amazing. She had a prong collar on. Her dog mom reached out and was like, "Hey, can you help me with the removal of this? I heard it's not good, but I had it on from another trainer." So I'm going to get all over with this, but I'm not faulting you if you don't know any better. Listen, we do not know what we don't know, right?
Yeah.
There's been points in time in my history, yes, mine, where I didn't know that these certain things weren't good, right? But education is key, and that's where it comes in to dog training and just understanding behavior, impacting lives, building relationships. And you know what? You don't need to advertise. You don't need to go dance, wear crazy suits, and do, all this silly stuff. I am confident enough that I know how to help you build such an incredible bond. And it just takes you to say yes and to want to have that, you know.
It's so
Um,
beautiful. It's so beautiful to hear you redefine the word leadership. One of our fabulous listeners, Sophia. Hi, Sophia. Sophia says, "Thank you for promoting positive practices and relationships with your dog." And I think that I think a lot of people kind of feel like, well, I can't discipline I've heard people say things like, I can't discipline my dog because I don't want to be mean to my dog.
yeah,
And then, so just hearing you say that discipline is not for dogs, discipline is for people,
yeah,
and that you don't have to be mean to improve upon your dog's ability to kind of mind their manners. That's huge. Like, I remember whenever
yeah,
people were taking like spray bottles of water at cats,
yeah,
it's so much has evolved. And of course, everyone in this podcast knows my frame of reference is always cats because that's just me.
yeah,
um but it's just so fascinating to hear you, especially because of your military and police background, lean into this more intuitive, gentler, relationship building
sure.
approach to training your dog. Like, that is so cool. It's just like the yin and the yang of it all. Like, awesome. Very, very
Yeah.
cool. And were you going to say something? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, thanks, Sophia. Appreciate you chiming in. I can't see them all, but she can, so she'll let me know. No, like, yeah, it is. It's a complete opposite. And that's why I said, it's stereotypical. Listen, I did, I went through SWAT school. I did FBI SWAT school, Army SWAT school. Guess what? Whatever. I'm just like you. We're all the same. And you know what? At the end of the day, what does it really come down to with training your dog effectively? Positive reinforcement techniques, creating positive associations, building trust and a bond. If you do that, you will win. And I'm not worried about those sides going, hey, well, this is what we do. This is what works. Okay, well, then stay in those ages because they're long gone. And I have no problem helping anyone. Listen, I'm still learning, right? The real student never truly graduates, right? I'm working on my doctoral right now, like my doctorate. I'll finish up this summer. I'm getting ready to start defending my dissertation. So yeah,
So
it'll be
cool, by
Dr.
the way.
Jack. Yeah. So listen, just keep going. Like, what are you doing? Right? Learn, because I'm not always right. And I think if you have that awareness in this field, in the military and law enforcement, as a person, as anybody, right? You can be so successful. Just let this go for a little bit and open up and listen, but again, I guess I'm going back to the fact that I have no problem with any dog trainer, any organization, but if anybody ever had questions, I would love not to bash but to help, because you know what, you don't know what you don't know, and that's the reality. I didn't know at one point. How crazy is that, right? You're like, well, how wouldn't you know? Ruff University, right? But listen, we all start somewhere. Yes, we all start somewhere. And you know, just to kind of piggyback off of that, I'm using a military term that we laugh at people for saying that, usually lieutenants. But I did want to point out that the reason why Ruff University was actually created was obviously all that I gave you beforehand, but I want you to know that, the dog training industry is unregulated. It's unregulated. Hopefully in the next year or two, a lot of associations, Association of Professional Dog Trainers, International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants, which I am a member of, they're all moving forward to push for licensure of dog trainers. Because check it out. At the end of the day, if you have a dog who has, reactivity issues, dog to dog reactivity, but let's say fearfulness, we'd have to define that. But if you have somebody come in because they say, well, I'm a dog trainer, and $2,000 later, if they create a behavior modification plan, which they really don't even know what that is, but they're doing it, right? If they don't know what they're doing, they're going to create additional problems for your dog. So just
Yeah.
important to remember, unregulated industry. I can't wait till it's fixed. 80% that are out there right now are going to fall off, and I can't wait to meet you all, because I want to teach you and not just train and walk out the door. So the other thing is, obviously, I love dogs. Having a behavioral background in ABA, I have a master's from Rowan. Again, I'm working on my doctorate now, and I take dog training very seriously. It's important to me. It means a lot because of all the reasons that I had said. And obviously, at the end of this, I want RUFF University to be the organization that it's not just a business, it's a brand, right? It's not just about what, it's about why. It's not just about dollars, it's about emotions. It's about us connecting. And that's what's real.
Yes.
So if you find any business, regardless of dog training, whatever it may be, listen, if they have those qualities, you're in a good boat. So but yeah, I'll get off my soapbox. Remember, I did do some scholarly research, if you will, on dog homelessness and dogs. So when you're ready for that, let me know. I know we're rocking on time here, but I am here
We
for
are
you.
we are rocking on time. And it's funny, I know that we're at time, but can I steal you for another like 5-10 minutes? Is
Yeah,
that
no,
okay with
I'm
you?
good. You're good. Totally good.
Cool.
Yep.
Love it. And I'm sure our listeners will appreciate it. And I know I sent you along some questions beforehand, and you have somehow magically answered everything here and there. And what I want to kind of focus on a little bit is something I'm picking up from something I'm picking up on from you, which is this idea of words really mattering. So you mentioned this earlier when you said that people are like, "Oh, my dog's nuts. This person's nuts. It's driving everyone nuts." And you were like, "Okay, but let's like identify those behaviors. Let's name them. Let's
Yep.
specify them." And I just think that's so interesting. And I think oftentimes we take for granted how when our animals are kind of acting up, dogs especially, when they're like, destroying the furniture, or when they
Yep.
won't stop barking, or when they're, doing their like adorable or rather not so adorable dog things. It can
Yeah.
feel like a lot. It can feel very frustrating. And oftentimes we as individuals fail to communicate with the dog in the moment. We fail to communicate with ourselves in terms of what's actually happening. And then I'm sure when people come see you, they fail to communicate what the actual problem is. So there
Right.
is this rush of emotions that happens whenever I
Yep.
think a behavior issue comes up. And what I love that, you're speaking into is this idea of like using language and kind of slowing down and taking a step back to look at the full picture, to identify where you could use improvement as a human being.
Sure.
And
Including me. Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, including me, of course, including us all. And I just think that's really that, like I said, to me, it really sets you apart in your field, in a field that sometimes kind of meets aggression with aggression.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. No, it
it's
does.
yeah, yeah. So that's just really, really awesome. And I'm curious, this is gonna be my last question for you is how does your passion for the human animal bond and I know you mentioned earlier that you're obviously a huge supporter of preserving the bond between pets of people who are experiencing homelessness and, their guardians. You seem to not discriminate on, against people based on their financial income as to whether or not
Right.
they can have a dog or should have a dog. I love that. And it seems like you just understand the importance of the human animal bond. So how does your if someone is listening to this, and I should let everyone know that I've included a link to your website in the show
Thank
notes.
you.
So, of course, yeah. So, if someone is listening to this and they are they're on the same side as you in terms of really appreciating the bond they have with their animals, it's obvious to me that you are someone that respects the human animal bond. And my question is, how does that respect for the human animal bond, regardless of someone's financial situation, how does that like inspire you? How does that influence your work?
Yeah, no, that's great stuff because that's very, very important, right? It inspires my work by most of the things that I've already kind of mentioned all over the place, right? But like
Love it.
make make it make it available, make it accessible, right? So put stuff up on social media that people can actually take something from it, right? For free. Hello. Yeah.
Yes.
Prong collar, you don't need it. Hey, you're walking around with a flat collar, put on a balance harness. They're puller, front clip attachment, put on a front. Where the
I
head
saw your
goes, the
post
body will
about
follow.
that the other day.
Right. Just
Yes.
basic stuff. And then again, once in a while, free class, win a free class. It's all about awareness, right? And nobody's going to know if you don't help them know, right? And in the background, I'm still learning. So I still have mentors and stuff like that. But that's everything right there. Like how cool is that to sit back and go, hey, in the last month, I've helped at least, I don't know, 30 people totally create this awesome bond with their dogs that they never knew even existed. I
Yeah.
mean, I've met people where they're like, and that reinforces my behavior, right?
Mm.
It's one big circle. It really is. Because when I see that and I receive that reciprocal feedback, I get that. It's like, hey, Jack, we were really good. We had a great relationship, but now all of a sudden, like he or she won't leave my side. And like, you know, we're doing all these things together. Things are much more fun. I love that. That fires me up even more. So where I started was like, hey, I want to set some standards out in the field. I want to do the right thing and I want to help people actually learn. So, as I move forward and can figure out ways to better disseminate that message so more people have it, the better it will be. I'm not, it's not I'm not really again, this isn't business focused for the most part. It's a brand. RUFF University is a brand. Emotions, you, me, your dog, I love it. Let's build together, right? Because if we're going the right direction, which is positive reinforcement, utilizing
Mm.
operant conditioning, and just understanding these things, you know, you're going to do so much better. And guess what? A simple thank you means the world to me.
Mm.
So, you know,
That's
but
awesome.
that bond and just that fire, that inspiration, that goes to those 5 scholarly articles that I pulled up. And I'll just give you real quick the
Lay,
trend in
lay it
all
on
of
us. Show us that you've done your research. We don't believe you till you show us.
out of five scholarly peer-reviewed articles based on homelessness and pets or dogs specifically, because it did vary between pets and dogs in some of them. Um, the number one thing that I saw trending through all of them was the fact that homeless that have animals are less likely to be able to access services, vet services, housing, right? So, hey, this is like a red light in all of these articles. Okay, so we figured it out. What do we do? Do we push politics? Do we push for, better systems and services and processes? And, back to Street Dog Coalition, what you're doing with the pop up vet clinics and things like that. It's just awesome. So, you are fulfilling a lot of what these papers are addressing throughout the years. I think it from 2019 to 2023, this research, but it all says, hey, listen, we need to make more emergency, homeless emergency shelters pet friendly, right?
Yeah.
And we need to
Yeah.
stop going to, homeless homeless people and saying, hey, we need to take your dog because, it's an animal welfare issue or whatever it may be. Hey, at the end of the day, guess what the other trending topic was? Bond. Guess what the research suggests in all these papers? Less isolation, less thoughts of suicide, less, I feel loved. My dog loves me. You know,
Less
hey, it's
relapsing
amazing.
if you're struggling with
Yep,
addiction. Yeah.
yep. Some people are only here today because of a dog. Think about
Bam.
that for a minute. So
Yeah.
that's yeah, it's amazing. But and thank you for allowing me to expand and open up my own horizons again, because I did this research specifically for our conversation. I wanted to dig. It was my duty. I should, I'm here. I should be looking more into it. And you know what? Now that I have that knowledge, I can take that out into, houses and friends and things like that. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And I really like you're just awesome. I mean, you're just awesome. I know that our,
Thank you.
supporters of our organization and our, staff members and volunteers who are listening to this episode, they're probably just like clapping for you right now because you really hit the nail on the head. I think, we at the Street Dog Coalition, similar to, your worldview, we view animals as really a lifeline for
Yep.
individuals that have often been marginalized by other people, by other, powers that are bigger than them. And
Yeah.
just like, when you come home from a long day of work and your boss was riding you the whole day, and then, you sat in traffic and you just see your cat or your dog or your bunny or whatever animal you have, you're your fish, representation for fish.
Yep.
No matter what kind of animal you have, it's like all of that stress from the day kind of just washes away a bit. And I and
Yep.
I really appreciate what you're saying because it seems to me like what you do at Ruff University is you focus on the heart and the soul of the relationship between the guardian and the animal. And yeah, and I just want to thank you so much for doing that research. I'm looking over at Christian said Christian says this is why the pet food pantry exists here. And that's right. At the
Yep.
Animal Welfare Association, where both Jack and I volunteer, we have a pet food pantry, which for those of you who are unfamiliar with our pet food pantry at AWA NJ, this is an incredible program we offer a couple times a month where we essentially give away pet food and other related resources to individuals. It's a no questions asked situation. But we give these items to individuals who may be financially struggling, maybe kind of working paycheck to paycheck,
Yeah.
like so many of us. But
Yep.
of course, your financial situation should not always, be the determining factor as to whether or not you can care for an animal. And I also, we talked about this on a previous podcast episode. A lot of us are like one life event away from being unhoused.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, Jack, I just want to thank you. So, oh my God, we could talk for 10 more hours. We'll
Yeah.
have
I
to,
know.
we'll have to meet up and hang out in person.
AWA.
Yes.
AWA, yeah. So it's funny, and I didn't mention it, but I literally just got back from taking, AWA has a therapy dog program, and I got to take Timmy over to a nursing facility and talk about bringing smiles to faces. I just love all of these organizations, Street Dog Coalition, AWA, what everybody's doing. This is awesome. We can all work together and just make the dream work. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So you rock, everybody. Thanks for hopping on. I can't see everything she can, but I appreciate everyone, and don't hesitate to reach out. No question's a bad question, and I'm more than willing to help anyone that truly wants to know or understand how to make something happen.
Thank you so much, Jack. And for our listeners, Jack, I should ask, are you going to the volunteer social this upcoming weekend? Will you
Yes,
be
I
there?
will be there.
I will
Yes.
be there. We will be socializing together. It'd be great to meet you then. Awesome.
Awesome.
And I want to thank everyone. Sorry, that was non sequitur. I was like, I gotta ask. I gotta ask.
I
I want
thought Cat was going to come out again, but
oh, it's funny because I also have a dog. It's not like I don't have a dog. We love you, Rocky, in the other room, I'm sure. Anyway, I want to thank you so much, Jack. I really appreciate your time today. And I want to thank everyone who tuned in live, everyone who is tuning in to the recording of this episode. Please, please, please check out Ruff University. Follow Ruff University on all forms of social media. Check out the link to Ruff University's website in the show notes. And like you said, Jack, you have a lot of different offerings. I've been following you on social media, and
thank you.
you provide such incredible, incredible tips for both pets and their people that I think are really helpful for individuals who are housed and unhoused. So
Yeah.
yeah, I want to encourage everyone to check out Jack on social media and to also look at the different services and programs provided by Ruff University. 10 out of 10. would recommend. Jack, thank
Thank
you
you so much.
so much. Thank you for your time today. You're very awesome. You're very funny, and I can't wait to meet you in person on Saturday.
Thank you. And so are you. And I appreciate your time again. An honor and a privilege to not only be with you, but in, representation of the Street Dog Coalition in this short time that we have together. And thanks to all of you awesome watchers and or listeners or both. But yeah, no, it's been a great ride. So I do appreciate it. And again, any questions, hey, send them my way, whether it be, whatever social media platform or through the website. But I appreciate everything. So thank you.
Thank you, Jack. You're the best. And thanks to everyone. And Jack, until next time.
I'll see you. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks.
Adios. Thank you.
Bye.